Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming out. It's great to be back at Vermillion as the head coach here. I was here for 4 years as an assistant coach. Had a great run our last 2 years here. Then had an experience to go away and get some more experience in the Mountain West and the Pac-12. I think I grew as a coach and kind of prepared me for this experience here. So we're excited to be back. My family's excited to be back, and this is a very special place to us. And I could be more excited to be your coach. So I have 4 things I want to talk about. The first thing really never gets talked about in the media, but it's our staff. And I get that our program's all about our players, right? But our staff never gets enough credit. So, and being the first year here, a lot of people probably don't know our staff. And the first guy I want to mention is Pat Everhart. Pat was at Nebraska Omaha for 11 years. At Omaha, over the last 6 years, they played in 2 Summit League championship games. Pat's a very good coach, really well respected in our area, and I'm excited to have Pat on board here. The second guy you guys are probably familiar with, Castlebower. I actually coached Casey here for 2 years. He was on the previous staff, and he'll be more on the offensive side. Casey's one of the smartest players I've ever coached, high IQ guy, and I knew coaching would be in his future. I had no idea it would be with me, but we're excited to also have Casey on our staff. The third guy, Brandon Yubel. Brandon's a guy that played at Nebraska. He's from Kansas City originally, and I got a chance to work with him the last 3 years, 2 at Utah State and 1 at Utah, and I instantly knew he'd be somebody that I wanted to hire if I ever got the chance to be a head coach. He is 6'10", so he is working with our big guys. So if you come to practice and see him, he'll probably be with the bigs. But Brandon's a very good coach, has a very bright future in coaching. And then we have 2 admin guys, Casey Brueggemann. So we have 2 Caseys on our staff. So Casey we refer to as CB. Casey came from Minnesota Duluth, kind of helped build that program as an assistant coach into a top 10 program in the country. And we're fortunate to have him here. And then Josh Calvert, who is our graduate assistant director of recruiting, is with us as well. He was at Northern Illinois last year. So very thankful for those guys. A lot of the times they don't get credit for what happens in our program, but it's all about our players. And those guys are the ones that help bring our players here. They're the ones that spend the most time with our players. So I just wanted to give them a shout out before we got going here. Okay. Our team. We have some very experienced guys, but we also have 12 freshmen and sophomores on our team. If you look at our roster, all right, we have 7 freshmen and 5 sophomores, and then we have 2 juniors, and there are 2 seniors right here today. You'll hear from them in a little bit. If you look at the makeup of our team, we have 8 newcomers and 8 returners, so it's kind of split right down the middle, which I'm excited about. I think we have a really good mix of experience and then some young guys that we're bringing along with our experienced guys. We have 5 players on our team that have been all conference in the Summit League at some point in their career, and we'll talk about a few of those guys right now. But first I want to talk about our seniors. So Mason, Mason's been here, he's a graduate student here, and when I first sat down with Mason, I just asked him, hey, why'd you come here? What's your dream school? We kind of had that talk, and Mason's like, Coach, this is my dream school. And you want those guys in your program. Mason's from Rapid City. He's a South Dakota kid. He's always dreamed of coming here, and he came back to do big things here. So I'm really excited about Mason. Damani. All right, Damani's going to be the guy that doesn't get a lot of credit from the media, so if you can, give him some more credit. He's our ultimate GATA guy, all right? When we say GATA, GATA stands for Get After Their Butts, all right? And that's one thing I took from Coach Smith. I've been part of the GATA program for 8 years, and it's hard to get that out of your blood when you're with GATA people. That's the type of people you recruit. You look at this summer, we had a really productive summer. I would say Mason was probably our most consistent player throughout the summer. He was just kind of right here all summer long. If you look at Damani, I'll tell anybody this, Damani was probably our most productive player outside of scoring, all right? And to build championship programs and championship teams, you need guys that don't care about scoring, all right? Every great team that I've been on has had somebody like that. I'm not saying Damani can't score, because he definitely can. I think he's took a huge step forward in that area. But he's the guy that just shows up every single day with that hard hat. He's taking charges. He's getting deflections. He's our best rebounder right now. So I'm really proud of Damani on his leadership and where he's taken our program in just probably 7 months since I took over. So a guy that won't get a lot of credit, but if you actually look at the box score, you will get some credit from us as a team. So proud of those 2 seniors. 2 juniors that we have that have also been all-league guys, Cruz and Tassos. Excited about both of them. Cruz has a chance to have a really good year. He's been an extremely good playmaker for us, where when he has the ball in his hands, it's not just for himself, it's for others too. And he's taken that next step where he's becoming an ultimate playmaker for our team, which I think he can really help us in that area. And then Tassos, all right? Tassos is a guy I love. He's right here. He's like a rock for us. But if you come and watch practice and you don't know Tassos, he kind of backs you down real slow. He's not dunking the ball a ton, but he can score around the basket. He shoots threes, and he's a very good defender. All right, and those are three things your center can do. You're in good shape. So pumped about Tassos. And then two other guys I want to talk about. AJ, obviously AJ's coming back, and we haven't really talked much about him over the last 7 months. And I wasn't here when his injury happened, but I'm proud of him. When I first met with him, we talked a lot about getting his body right and getting in the weight room and just having that body to play an entire season again. And I'm just proud of him that he's back and he's fighting through it. And this summer was a roller coaster. It was up and down. There were some days I'm like, okay, he's making progress, and then he take a step back. But that's part of coming back from an injury. And I think he really took a step forward this fall in our fall workouts. And then, I don't know, everyone's like, well, what percentage is he? I have no idea. But I know he looks good, and he's continuing to get better and make progress every single day. So, and then the other one is Paul Bruns. Paul is a transfer from the University of North Dakota. He was freshman of the year in the Summit League. And Paul, kind of inserting Paul into some returners, I think he's like the perfect fit. He's very low maintenance. He doesn't need the ball in his hands to be a good player. He's a better offensive rebounder than I give him credit for. And every time he's open, I think that thing's going in. So I think we got a really good core group of guys with some experience that have been all league guys in the Summit League. So I'm excited about our team. The third thing I want to talk about is our schedule. Took over the schedule in April, had one game on it. All right. Some people look at that like a negative. Sometimes it's a positive too, because we can kind of create our own schedule. The only issue is a lot of the teams that are available in April are the teams that nobody wants to play. So I thought we did a good job getting our schedule together. Wanted to really challenge our guys, and I knew if we put together a competitive schedule, it'll help us for league play. So just going through a little bit, we open up at Wisconsin on November 7th. Wisconsin has won the last 2 of 3 Big Ten championships. So I grew up in Wisconsin. I'm very familiar with their program. It's really hard to go in the Kohl Center and win, but I think we got a great opportunity to do that on November 7th. Very respected program. We come back November 9th, all right? Keep that date in your mind. Pencil it in if you're out there listening. Write it in your calendar. That's our home opener, all right? We have an exhibition game prior to that, but we play Lipscomb, okay? Lipscomb's a very good team. They're continually getting better. In the last 5 years, they've played in an NCAA tournament, and they've played in the NIT. So I'm excited about that game as our home opener. And then we participate in an MTE, an exempt tournament. We play at Mississippi State. Chris Jansen, the head coach there, is at New Mexico State. The past few years turned them into a powerhouse. They'll be competitive. They'll make us better. And then we go to Fort Myers, Florida. As of today, it's still on down there. We open up with Long Island, LIU Brooklyn, and then play either Sam Houston or Northern Illinois. Sam Houston's been one of the better mid-major teams in the country over the last 5 years. In Northern Illinois, had a new coach last year, and they're getting a lot better from the map. A couple other games I want to mention. We're at BYU. We play them in Vivint Arena where the Jazz play. Great opportunity for us to play in an NBA arena, first-class facility, and we play BYU. I'm 1-1 as a Division I head coach over COVID. My one loss is to BYU. So that game is circled on our schedule a little bit. But had the chance to coach that game and very familiar with that program. Really well-respected program. They've been a top 50 team over the last 5 years. We're at Air Force, a Mountain West team. Was in the Mountain West for 3 years. Completely understand how hard it is to play at Air Force in elevation. It's kind of a different setup. You're playing on the base up there. Smaller gym, but they get great crowds. We lost one game there at Utah State, and the crowd was phenomenal. I think they told all the cadets if they came to the game, they wouldn't have morning drill. So that thing was packed, and I think they had to cut the people off at the door. But it was a great atmosphere. So excited about that game. That'll make us better. And then our home games, other than Lipscomb, we play Coastal Carolina twice. So we play at Coastal Carolina, and then we play them here. Traditionally, they're a top 25 team in the mid-major poll. In the last 2 years, they played for 2 postseason championships. So outside of the NCAA tournament and the NIT, the other tournaments, the CBI, they've been in the championship game the last 2 years in that tournament. So very well-respected program. We're excited to get them on our home court. And the last team that I hadn't talked about is UC Irvine. That was the one game on our schedule when I got hired. If you look over the last 5 years, UC Irvine's been a top 100 team in the country. So very challenging schedule. I think it'll prepare us extremely well for the conference season. Last thing, before we open up to questions, practice. All right, we've had 12 full practices since late September with our team. And there's going to be a lot of different things this year. Our defense is going to be different. I know we got to be tougher on the glass. We talked about having a gated mentality every single day at practice, doing gated drills. But if you look at it consistently over the last 10 years, the team that's made the NCAA tournament, if you take out the COVID year with Oral Roberts, the team that's made the NCAA tournament has been either first or second defensively in our league. All right, and that's special, and that's why we have a chance when somebody from our team makes the tournament to win games, because they're very good defensively. So we know we need to take a bigger jump and be better defensively, and we're working on that every single day. Offensively, we'll be a lot different, and these guys can talk about that a little bit, but we're probably a little bit more free-flowing and maybe a little faster in transition, not running so many sets every single play. This summer we worked a lot on just giving them alignments and then teaching them how to play and teaching them how to make reads. And I think, sometimes in the summer you're pulling your hair out and you're like, man, what are we doing? And then the next day you're like, wow, we look really, really good. And that was kind of a roller coaster too this summer, but get them back for the fall. And I think, we just took a major step this fall just with our motion stuff and our principles. So it sounds cliche, but we're just obviously working to get better every single day. We don't talk specifically about championships. I know a lot of teams talk about championships. I think we talk more about championship habits and what needs to happen at practice every single day to build those habits, and then the rest of it just kind of figures itself out. So I'm excited about our team. We have high standards. We have high expectations for ourselves in our season. So at this time, we'll open up some questions.
Coach, you talked about more of a free-flowing offense. You got a lot of shooters, returning, and then obviously bringing guys like Paul. How much of your offense is going to be outside compared to inside, or vice versa?
I think it'll depend on the game a lot. I think you have to have an inside game to be a good team. All right. A lot of people say guards win games, and they do. All right. But if you don't have an inside game, it's hard to make a deep run. It's hard to win a conference championship when you don't have an inside game. So a lot of it will depend on the game. You look at some games last year, over the last couple of weeks, I watched a lot of film on our team last year, and they double Tassos. They went at him every single time. And Tassos, I think, is a very good passer, and he needs to continue that because we have such good shooters around him. So we'll take what they give us, but I think you need both, and a lot of it depends on the game too.
And to have 8 returners, but guys who have a lot of experience as well, do you feel like the team chemistry's kind of come along pretty well as well?
Yeah, I really like our chemistry. I always say to win at a high level, you need great people in your locker room. You can still win if you have bad people, but it's way more fun to win with really good people. And I think we have that. This summer, one of the biggest things with our coaching staff is we're just going to come every day and be the most positive people that we can be. Upbeat, positive, make practice fun, make these guys excited to come to practice every single day. And when you do that, it's amazing what happens with your chemistry. Some guy falls down, all of us are running over there picking them up. And these guys have spent a lot of time together too. So when you have good leaders as upperclassmen, it really helps the transition with the new guys. And we have that with these two guys.
There's obviously a lot of players on the team that spend a lot of time on the ball throughout the past couple of years. I mean, is there going to be a ball-dominant player to emerge out of that, or is there going to be a lot of touches around?
To be determined. I think that'll depend on the game too and the matchup. But the way we're going to play, I don't think it matters who brings the ball to the floor. You know what I mean? We get a rebound. The fastest way to get up in transition is to get a rebound and just go. So 1 through 4, if you get a rebound, I don't care who brings the ball up. Just push it up the floor and let's make them guard us. We'll have sets. I'm not saying we're not going to have sets, but those sets are for special situations and special players too. So if you're going to ask me today who those guys would be, I'm not 100% sure. I think it could be any one of our guards. That's how special those guys are.
Last year there was a lot of smaller lineups with Damani playing 5 and that kind of stuff. Do you expect even that you had some size to still run those sets quite frequently?
Yeah, Damani might play some 5. I don't know. Damani doesn't care what position he plays. I asked him the other day, I said, hey, can you guard this player from this team? I'm not going to say who it was. And he looked at me, yeah, coach, and that guy's a point guard. I don't think he really cares what position he plays. We've added some size with Miles Branch and Mihai. Mihai's from Romania, he's 6'10", 6'11", and he's a legit 250 pounds. So I think that's really going to help us. But I don't know how people are going to guard us either. You know, they could guard us a lot of different ways, and we could treat Damani like our 5-man. So I think it's game to game, and I think we'll be a very tough team to game plan around because of the players we have in our program.
All right, Coach. Just with being at Utah State, having Kada there as the center, and then last year with Carlson going up against guys like Evan Batty in the Pac-12, having a lot of success there in the first half of that game. Just with that inside game in this system, just how important is it to get guys going in there and just have it be a focal point of the offense?
Yeah, it's really important. As a coach, you want high percentage shots. That's what wins you games. Low percentage shots, like pull-up jumpers and contested threes, don't win you very many games. Sometimes you got to take those with the shot clock winding down, but when you can establish an inside game and people know they have to guard you in there, it makes you tough to guard. It makes Mason tough to guard. AJ, Cruz, you name it, Paul Bruns. It makes those guys tough to guard because they got to make some decisions there. In Tassos, I think he was really good over one shoulder last year scoring. He's become really, really good over both shoulders in the offseason. So I expect him to take a huge jump in there. Damani's taken a huge jump skill-wise, and he can tell you about that. And I think having Mihai is a huge luxury for us as well. Playing for a MAC team that won 27 games, being the backup center, got some great experience there. So you have to have it. Every good team has it, and you have to establish it early.
Yep, and then just from your last time being here to this time with Coach Smith's staff, what is one thing that has stayed the same about coming back here, and what's maybe one big change that you've seen just with the program?
Yeah, I would say, the thing that's the same is we have great people in our program, and I already talked about that, but you truly can't win a championship if you don't have the right people in the locker room. So that was a huge deal to us when we got hired this spring, is finding the right players out of the 16 roster spots we had to put in our locker room. And I think that's what we had the first time, and that's why we won a lot of games, and you can win a lot of games with the right people. So I would say that would be the same. The biggest difference, man, that's a good question. I would say, there's probably more support from the administration, and it's nobody's fault. It's not like we didn't have great support the first time we were here. We had great support. I think it's just taking another step in the right direction, and that starts with David Herbster right here, continually investing in our program and making it better every single year. So you can win a lot of games with players, but if your administration's not on board to do that, you're not going to win many games, and we have great leaders here at USD.
Coach, they talked about chemistry. You got a lot of players that obviously played a lot of minutes last year on this team. AJ played a lot of minutes prior to his injury. Paul Bruns played a lot of minutes at North Dakota. You've got some new guys coming in trying to get themselves in some minutes as well. How have guys bought into their roles, if they have changed even slightly, and how important is that for this year's team success?
Yeah, it's something we're still establishing a little bit as we go, but John, those talks that happened prior to the season starting, you know what I mean? So when I sat down with Mason in my office, it was like, Mason, what if your role's not the same? Coach, I just want to win. Cruz, what if your role's not the same? Coach, I just want to win. And it was the same message from every single player that I talked to. When I went to Paul Bruns and sat in his house in front of his family, Coach, I understand, I want to win, and that's why I want to come to USD. So I think just throwing the ego out the door and saying, this is why we're all here, we want to win games, and it's kind of figured itself out. It's not all the way there yet, and partially is we haven't put everybody on the top team on one team in practice yet, not consistently, and that's what we got to do the next couple weeks before a scrimmage. But I'm not worried about it because there's clear and constant communication about that stuff ever since I was hired with the guys that we brought in and the returners as well. Don't come back here if you're not willing to put it aside to do what's best for the team and to win.